Good morning, my dear students. Today we discuss about very important topic for Neet concern is eye. Eye located in orbit of skull. Eye located in orbit of skull. This is our orbit. In Neet question ask like this: in which area eyes are located? Orbit of skull. How many eyes are there in human being concern? There is a pair of eyes. There is a pair of orbits. Toward the structural concern, eye is having three portions. They are: one is the fibrous tunic. Second one is a vascular tunic. Third one is a nervous tunic. There are the three layers which are seen for eyeball concerned. They are fibrous tunic, vascular tunic, and nervous tunic. Vascular tunic is also said to be as uvea. A nervous tunic is also said to be as a retina of eyeball. So one by one I am discussing. First to go for the fibrous tunic. This is our eyeball. This is our eyeball. This is anterior side. This is the posterior side. You see my eyeball. This is the anterior side of the eyeball. This is the posterior side of the eyeball. Eyeball anterior, eyeball posterior. So here this is the anterior end. Anterior end of the eyeball with respect to that fibrous tunic, there is a cornea. There is a cornea. Posterior side of the eyeball, related to that fibrous tunic concern is sclera. Sclera is also said to be as white eye. It is also called it as white eye. It is a dense connective tissue. It is a dense connective tissue. Concern for fibrous tunic. What are the points related to the Neet is maybe having chance to ask is, what is the outermost covering of the eyeball? Fibrous tunic. Fibrous tunic is having what are the two important parts concerned? Anterior sclera, anterior cornea, posterior sclera. Anterior cornea, posterior sclera. Posterior, this fibrous tunic is dense connective tissue, non-nutritive area, no blood supply, no nourishment concern. Major part of the fibrous tunic is sclera. It is occupied 2/3. This is occupied posterior 2/3. Next to go for vascular tunic. Vascular tunic is look like a U shape. Further said to be as uveal tract. In this diagram, you see here, there is a bluish transparent posterior portion. Bluish transparent posterior portion is called choroid portion, richly vascularized portion. More blood supply is there, richly vascularized portion. This portion which is present beneath the fibrous tunic. The part of vascular tunic located beneath the fibrous tunic sclera concern is choroid portion. This is the choroid portion. Choroid is the part of A, fibrous tunic, B, vascular tunic, C, nervous tunic. Like that the question will come. Answer is choroid is the part of vascular tunic. They located beneath the fibrous tunic. It is occupied 2/3 portion of the posterior portion of the vascular tunic. Anteriorly, this is go for anterior side. This is the anterior view. This V is the anterior view. This is the anterior view. This is the posterior view. Anteriorly, there is a thickened portion. Here there is the thickened portion. This thickened portion is said to be as ciliary body. Thickened anterior portion is called ciliary body. Ciliary body. It is the anterior extension of the choroid part. Then there is another important portion that is the iris. Iris, that is the extension of this ciliary body. This is the iris. These ciliary muscles and iris muscle are made up of, that is derived from ectoderm. All muscles in our body derived from mesoderm. All muscles in our body derived from mesoderm except ciliary muscle and iris muscles of eyeball. This is the ciliary muscle. This is the iris muscle. There are two muscles are there. One is the ciliary muscle and iris muscle. Here observed there is the gap. That gap is said to be the pupil of eye. This gap is observed here now. This gap is said to be as pupil of eyeball. This is the pupil. Pupil of eyeball. Again I am saying about that vascular tunic. Vascular tunic is a richly vascularized portion. It having three important zones. They are, one is the choroid, second one is the ciliary body, third one is the iris. Choroid portion is bluish area, bluish colored area. It is present below the sclera. It is occupied 2/3 portion. Anteriorly it get be thickened. The anterior portion is said to be as the ciliary body. Forwardly there is a iris muscles are there. They are opaque. They are opaque, non-transparent muscular area. In between this there is the gap. That gap is said to be as a pupil of eye. You observe this is look like U shape. For that it is said to be as a uveal tract. It is look like U shape. For that it is said to be as uvea. Ciliary muscles, from there there is a ligaments will come. Suspensory ligaments. Here there is the suspensory ligament. There is the suspensory ligament. Suspensory ligaments are come from choroid. Suspensory ligaments are come from ciliary body. It is not from choroid. It's from ciliary body and it holds lens. Here there is the lens. Transparent lens is there. This transparent lens is held by suspensory ligaments. There is the chambers. The chamber present posterior to the lens. The chamber present posterior to the lens, that is called vitreous chamber. The chamber is said to be as vitreous chamber. The chamber present below the pupil and below the lens. The chamber is said to be as aqueous chamber. Aqueous chamber. Question is asking like this: how many chambers present in the eyeball? Vitreous chamber and aqueous chamber. Location of aqueous chamber: present back to the lens or present posterior to the lens or present dorsal to the lens. Aqueous chamber is located, that is anterior to the lens, that is located anterior to the lens or ventral to the lens. Then go for the last part of the eyeball concern, that is the nervous tunic. Nervous tunic is divided into two portions. They are pigmented non-visual portion, pigmented non-visual portion and non-pigmented visual portion. There are the two portions are there. They are pigmented non-visual portion, not useful for the vision, whereas another, that is that visual portion. Go for pigmented area. Go for pigmented area. This pigmented epithelium present beneath the choroid and extended up to that ciliary body and extended up to that iris body also. This is the pigmented area. This pigmented area, pigmented epithelium they call it as. They present beneath the choroid and extended up to that ciliary body and iris body. I am using a red colored pigmented epithelium here. This pigmented epithelium is made up of specialized melanocytes, non-visual portion. It is the part of retina that is located beneath the choroid and they get be traveled anteriorly and they covers beneath the ciliary body and also covers the iris muscle. Then go for a retina of eyeball. So what is the structure here? Same structure present here, retina. This is the complete retina. In retina, there is three important cells are located. They are from outer region to inner region. There is from outer region to inner region. This is the outer portion of the eyeball. This is the inner portion of the eyeball. This is the outer margin. This is the inner margin. So in between outer and inner, there is a sequentially arranged cells are, one is the photoreceptor layer, one is the photoreceptor layer. Beneath that photoreceptor layer, there is a bipolar nervous layer. Bipolar nervous layer. Beneath the bipolar nervous layer, there is the ganglionic nervous layer is there. It is the outer margin. Arrange the following sequentially. The layers of cells from outer margin to inner margin of the eyeball, retina. Photoreceptor, bipolar nervous and ganglionic nervous. So what I completed, I go for recap. Eye is located in orbit of skull. In which location eye are located? Orbit of skull. How many portions are located in the eyeball? They are fibrous tunic, vascular tunic, nervous tunic from outer to in. Fibrous tunic containing the parts are sclera and cornea. Cornea is anterior, sclera is posterior. There is a canal of Schlemm is there in between cornea and sclera. There is the canal of Schlemm. They are said to be as scleral venous sinus. Beneath that, it is a non-vascularized portion, non-nutrient portion. Beneath that, there is a vascular tunic. Vascular tunic is having choroid portion, ciliary body and iris muscle. Choroid portion is a posterior bluish portion, richly vascularized portion, occupied 2/3. They runs anteriorly and they become swollen and thickened. Swollen and thickened portion is called ciliary body. Anteriorly they extended as iris muscle. It is opaque muscle. In between iris muscles there is the gap called pupil of eyeball. There is a pair of suspensory ligaments will come. These suspensory ligaments which holds the lens. Lens is the transparent. Suspensory ligaments are arised from ciliary body. This vascular tunic is look like U shape, for that is called the uveal tract or uvea. Then there is a real structure of eyeball is said to be the nervous tunic. Nervous tunic is divided into visual, non-visual portion and visual portion. Non-visual portion contains there is that pigmented epithelium. Pigmented epithelium is moves posteriorly beneath the choroid, beneath the ciliary body and iris. Then there is a visual portion. Visual portion comprises three layers from outer margin to inner margin. They are photoreceptor layer, bipolar nervous layer and ganglionic layer. There are the two chambers are located in the eyeball. They are vitreous chamber and aqueous chamber. Vitreous chamber located posterior to the lens. Aqueous chamber present anterior to the lens. Vitreous humor is useful to us to maintain the equilibrium with related to that pressure of the eyeball called intraocular pressure. Aqueous humor is derived from the ciliary body. It is useful for cleaning the lens and also maintains intraocular pressure. The fluid of the vitreous chamber is called vitreous humor. The fluid of aqueous chamber is said to be the aqueous humor. Aqueous humor is derived from ciliary body. Vitreous humor is derived during embryonic development. This is the fluid persistently seen. Then go for the discussion of the visual portion of the eyeball. Go for the discussion of the visual portion of the eyeball. I draw somewhat bigly. I want somewhat bigly the eyeball. Bigly the eyeball here I draw. Before saying about these layers of cells in the retina, I want to say one more two important areas. They are blind spot, and yellow spot or macula lutea. Macula lutea. Very, very important for Neet. It is our anterior portion. It is our anterior portion. When you see the anterior portion deeply, you are observing this area. When you see like this, when you stand and see like this, you have to see this area. This area is this area you have to see. This area you have to see. This area is said to be as the blind spot. This is the blind spot. Blind spot is a spot at which there is no rods and cones. It is not useful for vision. Blind spot is not useful for vision. Through blind spot, there is a blood vessel is moving for carrying blood. There is the exist of nerve. Nerve will be moving out like this. Optic nerve. It is the exit. It is entry of the blood vessel, and there is a outward entry of a nerve, that is the optic nerve. And I am saying blind spot is the posterior portion of the eyeball present at the base of the eyeball, present at the fundus of the eyeball. Then go for this is our eyeball. This is our eyeball. I draw like this. This is our eyeball. This is our eyeball. This is our eyeball. This is our median side of the eyeball. This is our eyeball. This is our eyeball. Here, this is the lateral side of the eyeball. This is the median side of the eyeball. This is the lateral side of the eyeball. This is the median side of the eyeball. This is the lateral. This is the median. This is the lateral. This is the median. Where the one more important area is said to be as yellow spot is located. Location of yellow spot where? Here, that is located lateral to the eyeball. This is a blind spot. This is blind spot. This is the lateral side. This is the lateral side. This is the lateral side. Location of yellow spot is lateral side of the blind spot. Location of blind spot is median to the yellow spot. Median to the yellow spot. In our Ncert, there is a line is given. Location of yellow spot and blind spot. Here observed in this diagram, I am using black dot is the yellow spot. I am using blue color, that is the blind spot. You observed black colored spot present lateral to the blue colored spot. So this is a yellow spot. So yellow spot located lateral side. Yellow spot located lateral side to the blind spot. Lateral side to the blind spot. Lateral side to the blind spot. So the part of eyeball has no rods and cones. Here is blind spot. In blind spot there is no rods and cones. Here there is observed there is a yellow spot. This yellow spot I draw out. At yellow spot there is the middle thin portion. That is called fovea centralis. Location of fovea centralis exactly middle of the macula lutea. It is the somewhat deeper and thinned portion. Fovea centralis is a thinned portion of the macula lutea. It is useful for sharp vision. More resolution is there. Among the total structures of the eyeball, more resolution is for fovea centralis, for sharpness, sharp vision. If you want to read something, that should be with fovea centralis. Where fovea centralis is located, that is located the middle portion of the macula lutea or yellow spot. That the portion has only cones, no rods. Very, very important for Neet. Fovea centralis is having only cones, no rods. The part of eyeball having only cones, no rods is a fovea centralis. So go for the structure of, again I am saying, blind spot and yellow spot. Blind spot is the exit of the eyeball, has no rods and cones. Where optic nerve is exit out, blood vessel is moving for supply of blood to the eyeball. It has no rods and cones. For that, it does not useful for photoreception. No rods and cones. There is no useful for photoreception concern. There is a yellow spot. Yellow spot is located lateral side to the blind spot. Has a thinned portion at the middle called fovea centralis for sharp vision. Has only cones, no rods. Then go for real structure of the retina. Previously what I told that there is the three layers are seen, outer margin to inner margin, or one is the photoreceptor layer. Second one is the ganglionic layer. Photoreceptor layer. First I go for discussion about the photoreceptor layer. There is this is the choroid. You know that this is the choroid portion. This is the ciliary body. This is the iris muscle. This is the choroid portion. This is the ciliary body. This is the iris muscle. This is the pupil of eyeball. This is a pigmented epithelium. This is the pigmented epithelium, which is made up of specialized melanocytes, which is extended up to that choroid and ciliary body. Here there is the real retina. First layer is said to be as photoreceptor layer. Photoreceptor layers are having rods and cones. They are having rods and cones. They are having rods and they are having cones. They are having rods, cones. Here observe there is a uniformly distributed in this area. Rods and cones are uniformly distributed area is a photoreceptor layer. In photoreceptor layer, rods and cones are equally distributed. The part of the retina, there is Rods and cones are equally distributed or photoreceptor layer. Here, rods are useful for scotopic vision. Is said to be a scotopic vision, blurred vision. That's said to be as a twilight vision. It is the twilight vision. Cones are useful for sharp vision. Here observed in this diagram, some are blunt, some are tapered. These blunted cells are said to be as the rods, useful for scotopic vision or twilight vision. Whenever the dawn and dusk time, if you want to see the object, these are very, very essential. But they are not detecting the color. Simply you see the object, that's it. Cones are, three kinds of cones are there. Some are useful for detection of red color. Some are useful for detection of green color. Some are useful for detection of blue color. Cones are three kinds. They are alpha cones, beta cones and gamma cones. Some cones are useful for detection of red color. Some cones are useful for detection of green color. Some cones are useful for seeing the blue color. There are the three types of cones are there: alpha cones, beta cones and gamma cones. If that any deficit is caused here, that is any problem is there, color blindness is caused. That is related to that X-linked recessive inheritance. Color blindness is a X-linked recessive trait that can be transmitted from parents to offsprings. In genetics they will come. These cones are collectively working together. We are observed white color. These three cones are working together. You observed white color. That theory is said to be as trichomacy theory. Here observed, they made connected with pigmented epithelium at outer end. This is the outer end. So go for at inner end. It is made synapse with that inner cells of layer that are called bipolar nerve cells. Beneath that, there is a bipolar nerve cell layer. So here I draw, there is a bipolar nerve cell layer. There is a bipolar nerve cell layer present beneath the photoreceptor layer. These are the bipolar nerve cell layers. It made synapse with this one. It made synapse with this one. Upper layer, that is the outer layer. It made synapse like this. Bipolar nerve cell layer. Bipolar nerve cell layer made synapse with outer end to the photoreceptor layer, and it is made synapse with ganglionic nerve cell layer. There is very close to that vitreous chamber, there is a ganglionic nerve cell layer. Is there. This is our ganglionic nerve cell layer. It made synapse like this. These ganglionic nerve cell layers are made synapse like this. Here observed, bipolar nerve cell layer made synapse with photoreceptor cells and also made synapse with ganglionic nerve cell. Photoreceptor nerve cell layer are made synapse with pigmented epithelium and bipolar nerve cells. Whereas ganglionic nerve cell is made synapse with bipolar nerve cell. These are the axons of it. These are the telodendrites, these are the axons. These axons are get together like this. And form a nerve. This is all axons are get together to form a nerve. This nerve is said to be as optic nerve. These optic nerve go and joins with visual cortex of the. It is go and join with visual cortex of the brain. These are the three layers of the cells from outer margin to inner margin. They are photoreceptor layer, ganglionic layer, and that is a bipolar nerve cell layer and ganglionic nerve cell layer. Photoreceptor layer containing two varieties of cells, rods and cones. Rods are useful for scotopic vision. Cones are useful for photopic vision. Rods are having The visual purple protein is called rhodopsin. It is having the protein is called iodopsin. Iodopsin. It is containing the derivative of vitamin A. Iodopsin is the protein related to the cones. There is a difference between rods and cones. Rods are useful for twilight or scotopic vision. Cones are meant for photopic vision. Rods are having the visual purple protein is called rhodopsin, whereas cones are having the iodopsin. Rhodopsin containing the derivative of vitamin A. Cones are three kinds. They are alpha cones, beta cones, gamma cones. Red colored cones, green colored cones, blue colored cones. Deficit is caused, that is causing color blindness. It is X-linked recessive inherited trait. Three are get together working simultaneously. We observed white color called trichromacy theory. Beneath that there is bipolar nerve cell layer is there. It made synapse with outer photoreceptor layer and inner nerve cell layer. It is the ganglionic nerve cell layer. Ganglionic nerve cell layer made synapse with bipolar nerve cell. Axons of these nerve cells are get together to form optic nerve. These optic nerve move and go and join the visual cortex of the brain. Then go for that is the vision. Vision concerned, when I close my eyes, opsin protein and that is the retinol. Both are get together to form opsinoretinol. Opsinoretinol. And that time there is no action potentials are conducted. Whenever the beam of light ray are passed over the cornea, from there they travel to that aqueous chamber and they entered into the pupil of eyeball and they go for vitreous chamber. From vitreous chamber to the go into that nerve cell layer, nerve cell to bipolar to photoreceptor. Then again they go down radially with the help of some other specialized cells present here. They are horizontal cells, amocrine cells like that. They again move down like this. And here configuration is changed and converted, they divided like this, opsin and retinol. Whenever the opsin and retinol are gathered, no vision. Whenever opsin and retinol get be dissociated, means action potential get be generated. That action potential tend to that move to that visual cortex of the eyeball and causing the appropriate function to see the vision. So I think this is very benefit to you. I think I am giving more knowledge for you to read Ncert eyeball. Thank you very much. Please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best, my dear students. Thank you.